Welcome to Andy's Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. Today I'm going to show you how to replace the oxygen sensor on your vehicle. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, the items you're going to need to complete this is obviously you're going to need an oxygen sensor depending on your vehicle. That'll determine what brand and size, all that. These range anywhere from around $59 to $100 depending on the brand, your vehicle. You want to make sure that you get the right one, upstream, downstream, bank 1 or bank 2. We'll go into that a little bit later. If you want to know more about oxygen sensors as far as full functionality, terminology, just a whole overview of what they are, what they do, all that, you can do so via the link shown above. I did a video a few months back going in more in depth than I'm going to go into today. You're also going to need gloves if you have them, because it can get kind of greasy depending on where you need to go to reach your the actual connection. Jack stands, because we're going to have to get the car up in the air. Also ramps are good if you have those. And then you'll just need a wrench, really. 22mm wrench is usually what I found is with most of them, but I don't know for your particular vehicle. They do make a socket just for removing them in case you need a breaker bar. I've never had to use that, so a wrench is all that we're going to use today. For safety reasons, what I will normally do is put the vehicle on some rhino ramps and also support the frame with some jack stands. In addition to that, you want to make sure that you always chock the rear wheels as well. First thing you need to do is you need to identify which sensor you need to replace. What we're looking at here is the catalytic converter. You'll see that there's one sensor right there. That's the one that comes before it. That's your sensor 1, or known as an upstream sensor. It pretty much comes from the exhaust manifold down to the catalytic converter. Then passing the catalytic converter, there's your second one, which goes out towards your muffler and the exhaust. That's your sensor 2, or your downstream. The process of changing it out is the same on either one. The only difference is the location of the harness. On some vehicles, the engineers did a very ridiculous job of designing it and putting the actual electrical harness for the sensor ones on top of the transmission. On this particular vehicle, you can see the harness all the way up there on the top of the transmission. This one here I was able to bring down far enough to get to it, but on some of them they're even further up and you have to access them through the engine bay area, coming behind the engine, fishing a wire down, pulling that up. If you happen to be working on a Chevy Trailblazer, which this is the vehicle that I'm using for this video, you can check out my link shown above for more in depth on how to fish that out and take care of all that. On other ones and on a lot of your sensor 2s, it's just mounted on the side of the frame. And here's a sensor 2. Here's usually how you'll see it on the side of the frame. It'll just be clipped on there and running that way. Now, a couple indications that your oxygen sensor may either be bad or need to be replaced. You'll notice when you come to a stop, sometimes the car will have a very rough idle. Obviously, it can generate error codes, and you'll have to check those out with a diagnostic reader and find out, and it'll tell you exactly which sensor it is that needs to be replaced. Another thing is also your fuel mileage can actually go bad, because this pretty much communicates to the system as far as your air and fuel ratio. Another thing to also keep in mind, if you're dealing with some of the bigger engines, you could also have multiple banks as opposed to just the sensor 1 and sensor 2. And you'll have bank 1 and bank 2, which normally bank 1 refers to the side of the engine where the first cylinder is on, and bank 2 is the side that your second cylinder is on. This is the sensor that we're going to be replacing for this video. And as mentioned at the beginning, a lot of times just a wrench with a little bit of some power behind it will get that off. In the event that it is too tight, you could either buy the socket for removing it and then use a breaker bar, or you can put a little bit of heat to it, whether you want to hit it with a little bit of a torch, or a lot of times just running the vehicle, because the exhaust gets extremely hot. Running it hot a lot of times will be enough to loosen it, but I'm going to go ahead and just use a wrench and let's see if we can get it off. Put a little power there. There we go. There we go. Yeah. Now, what I did is I ran this car to heat it up real good. And then now you can just take it off by hand. I already went ahead and disconnected the harness to make it easy. Pull that out. Here's the sensor that we removed, and you can see this thing has got a lot of action on it. Definitely in need of replacing. So we're going to go ahead and drop a new one in, and that'll wrap this up. Now before you install your new sensor, it's always good to put some anti-seize compound on the threads here. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that, and then we'll screw it in. There we go. Went ahead and just put just a light coating there on the threads. So now I'm going to get ready to screw it in here by hand, and then we'll come back and tighten it with the wrench. Just get a hand, screw it in. Okay, it's tight. Let's go ahead and put a wrench to that, finish it off. You don't want to over tighten it. Make sure you clip the safety lock after you connect it. Okay, well this pretty much wraps up this video on how to replace an oxygen sensor on your vehicle. I hope this video helped you out. Please send me any questions, any comments. I would love to hear from you. As always, I appreciate all the support. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.